We are here for a spy stream. Now, we started spy stream last week. This is a 3-part spy stream, and I was actually a little afraid that we weren't going to get invited back to the second part. I wasn't sure because someone last week came into spy stream and they told, Tandy Lynn with the other super sticker. Tandy, thank you for that. I really appreciate it, guys. All your super chats and all your super stickers go to support the channel, and really, I cannot do it without your support, and I'm really grateful. So we started this last week, and we did our first spy stream of this series, Elementary Teaching for Equity and Justice. Sharpen your radar for missed teachable moments and attempts at equity and inclusion that can further marginalized students. Now, with spy stream, if you've never been before, what we do is we watch a woke training live on the internet. I have infiltrated this training, and by infiltrated means I paid for this training. I paid for this for all of you. You're all welcome. And the reason we do this is we want to see what the enemy is teaching. We want to watch it from start to finish. This is very similar to what we do in happy hours on Fridays on Actively Unwoke. But the thing of it that's different is normally happy hours on Actively Unwoke are not live trainings. Sometimes they might be trainings that are years and years and years old. They're just stuff I find on YouTube or the internet. And it's just, it's a look back. We're seeing a live training tonight. We are logging into their Zoom. They don't know we're broadcasting this on the internet. And the reason I was a little bit nervous is someone came into the chat last week and they were like, I'm going to tell them that you are broadcasting it on the internet. And apparently that didn't happen because I still got the link. Because, of course, I sign up for these things under fake names, and I do my very best to try to play it covert. We don't disrupt their training or anything. We don't do anything nefarious. We let them do their thing. We might ask them questions, but I don't disrupt their training in any way. I just show you guys what they're teaching when they think that no one is listening to them and no one is watching them.
We are thrilled that people are connecting in the chat box and sharing resources with each other. We think that's a feature of Zoom webinars that is really cool and exciting, to connect people from all over the world literally with each other. We have an asterisk there because we are aware that someone is live streaming us illegally without our permission for the purposes, I think, of like political opposition to the kind of education that we're advocating for.
Hi.
And so we just want to alert everyone. We mentioned this in the email that went out after the first session, but just so you can make decisions about how you want to show up in the chat. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that there are people who might be here in bad faith that are participating in the session.
We're here in amazing
regardless
faith.
of why you're here.
Say
we're here to answer questions. We're here to help. We got a lot
to a much larger audience than you have yourself.
That we really appreciated about how much they enjoyed the session, how much they're learning from these.
They could have figured out who I was from the first session too, just so you guys know. They really could have figured it out.
But we just want to make sure everybody has a heads up and can make an informed decision about how to participate tonight and next week.
Yeah, and that can mean maybe you want to change your name that's appearing in the chat, because like we said, we know that someone intends to live stream tonight despite our request for no recording. So that means that your information could potentially be made public as well.
It could be.
Just want to make sure that we're real clear that that is a violation of what we would requested, but we do want to protect the participants that
are
here. Katie, after this. We will try Katie brought this up actually. So if you've been following, and I'm sure you all have, as educators, the recent pushes for book bans, so-called anti-CRT and divisive concepts legislation. Some people argue that to talk about this history of our nation, these kinds of examples, makes white children feel bad. Well, it should make all people feel bad because it's a terrible history. It's history that involves violence and dehumanization against an entire group of people. And some of that violence was at the hands of the people that are supposed to protect us, people who are supposed to serve us, like firefighters and government officials. They're not supposed to harm us, but in some cases, that's what they did. So this isn't targeting any group of children to feel bad because the children weren't the ones responsible.
Right.
But they can learn about the harms of the past and try to do better with each other and in the future. This is a country that's supposed to be founded on pluralist democracy and that supposedly believes in liberty for all, but we still aren't exercising those ideals. But we can encourage our students to fight for those ideals and to learn lessons from the past when people were denied their basic civil rights, denied their basic civil liberties, and try to do better.
And identifying agents of action and saying, like, these were white people that were doing these things does not say that if you were white, you had to have been doing those things, or that you were doing those things. There were white people who refused to do those things and who were part of the resistance and part of activism and organizing to push back. So there's no guarantee that if you are a white person, you're going to be part of all of this. But we will be if we don't learn about all of this in order to actively, consciously choose to not be part of it and to build relationships across difference and to be in solidarity with people. And this is just specific to race. We could talk about disability. We could talk about citizenship status. We could talk about gender, right? We could talk about all sorts of things. But when you're in a dominant group, when I think about my dominant identities, I absolutely want to understand how people with my identity have done harm so that I cannot be part of that and I can be part of what is trying to make it better. And I know if I don't learn about that, I have a much greater chance that I'm going to inadvertently do harm, right? And I don't want to be part of that. I don't want my kids to be part of that, right? So just another 2 cents there.
Bye. See you next week.
Now my dog
Bye.
He's so cute. The one last.
Well. That was interesting. I was not expecting to be called out live on their stream, but ladies, I want to speak directly to the presenters because I know that that they'll probably be. I bet they're tuning in right now. Hi guys. So thank you for welcoming us into your stream. Now, I do want to say, you know, I appreciate the fact that you didn't kick me out of the webinar, because if you guys had actually paid attention to the stream from last week, you absolutely could have figured out my name. You absolutely could have figured out my email address. You absolutely could have figured out precisely how to kick me out from all of your future webinars. That was 100% an option on the table. You didn't do that. And I appreciate that you didn't do that. And, you know, I appreciate that you acknowledged us. I appreciate that you wrote a statement for us. Now, I do want to take a close look at the statement that they wrote, especially for us, because they knew that we were streaming on the internet. I know it's a little bit hard to read. I wonder if I can make it a little bit bigger. No, I can't make the image bigger, but I will read the statement to the naysayers. A note to they wrote us, guys, they were literally interacting with us throughout that webinar. Don't you feel like we just had an entire conversation with them? I feel like we're basically best friends. A note for the naysayers. Some folks, FOLKS, I have to give them credit for that and not using FOLX, like the ones behind recent book bans and so-called anti-CRT and divisive concept legislation, argue that this kind of work we're encouraging is designed to make white children feel bad. Well, ladies, here's the thing. You should really know who you're speaking to before you make statements, because I have been specifically incredibly critical of all book banning efforts. I have called out Moms for Liberty on the book banning. I call out conservatives all the time on the book banning. I know you guys probably think I'm like an alt-right Nazi conservative. I'm actually not. Neither are the people in my chat. Most of us do not agree with book banning at all in any way, and have been some of the more vocal people on that. But the thing of it is you guys are employees of the state. Well, there's a couple things. Number one, and this was said at the beginning of the stream, and I think this bears repeating, you are teaching teachers how to teach children. You should not be doing that in private. We should be able to see exactly what the teachers are teaching the children. We should be able to see how they're being trained. These are children. They are not our kids. They are not your kids. They are the children of the parents who sent them to the school. They are not your children. Stop treating them like they are your children. But that anti-CRT legislation, the divisive concepts bill, guess what? That is meant to put restrictions on the government. When you are a public school employee, you do not have free speech. This has already been ruled on by the Supreme Court. We can absolutely put restrictions on what you are allowed to teach children when you make assumptions that they are your children rather than the children of parents. This puts restrictions on the federal government. This does not put restrictions on individual liberties. This puts restrictions on the federal government. When teachers are teaching in their capacity as public school employees, they are agents of the state and they do not have free speech. So too bad, so sad. You are just upset that we were better at activism than you were on this particular front. Let's continue with their statement. Learning about this history should make all people feel bad. Why do you want to make children feel bad? It is horrible to witness such violence and dehumanization occur against an entire group of people, especially at the hands of folks like firefighters and government officials who are supposed to be in service to the community, not to harm members of it. Now, these teachers, these women, I don't even know if they're still teachers. You guys might be surprised to understand that I actually agree with you on this point. I don't actually think that we should be teaching kids that like cops are good people. I don't think cops are good people. I think any conservative that still backs the blue after what happened in 2020 and after what happened on January 6th and after every single time the police have absolutely failed to do their job based on political affiliation, I absolutely believe that any conservative that still backs the blue has like had the wool pull over their eyes. I was chased like by a Black Lives Matter mob in Dallas, Texas, outside of the Dallas police station. When we called them for help, no one came to help us. The police aren't going to protect you. I don't think we should be teaching that the police are good people. So on this point, we might actually have some common agreement. But we are not blaming anyone but the people who enacted these harms. Well, that's actually not the point. Today's young people are not responsible for white supremacy and racial violence, but they can learn about our nation's problematic histories and work towards building a better society that actually centers on democracy and liberty for all. No one is opposed to children learning accurate history. No one's opposed to that. I'm not opposed with kids learning about slavery. I'm not opposed to kids learning about the civil rights movement. I'm not opposed. I liked some of your ideas. I liked the idea of diversification of story. I thought the idea that you had about colorizing black and white photos and using those was actually really good, because I do agree that when you colorize photos, it gives you a different perspective. So I actually think you had some good suggestions about how to teach different stories. However, the problem that we have is not teaching history, is not teaching slavery, is not teaching any of these things. The problem that we have is that you are teaching children to be activists. That is not your job. It is not your job, especially at the elementary school level, to be teaching children to be activists. The things that you should be teaching children are to read, to write, to do math, to understand the world that existed before they were born, not based on your political affiliation or not based on any sort of idea of what collective action you want them to take when they're adults. That is not the point. You should not be teaching that in public schools. We should not be paying your taxpayer salary for you to be indoctrinating children into your ideology that is going to set them up to be little activists for the rest of their lives and not even understanding the full breadth and perspectives of different forms of history, because that's not what you teach. You teach one singular perspective of history. You just said don't allow kids to play cowboys and Indians. It's a fucking game. Pull the stick out of your ass. They are children. They're children. And you know what? I think the most ironic part of this entire experience is they obviously edited and finagled their content because they knew we would be watching. They did not understand who we were. They did not understand what we believe. I'm sure they think that Chris Rufo is like the devil incarnate when he's actually like a really nice guy. And you know, it was like they actually had some good ideas in this webinar. Listen, I gave them credit in the last webinar. I think that they had some good ideas in the last webinar. I think that their ideas about, you know, not celebrating holidays in which all children can't be included in the celebration, I actually think that that was kind of nice. I think there are different ways that you can do that. I thought that some of their ideas in this webinar were good. I actually don't think that they made some horrendous points in this webinar. I actually thought that like, this is not even, dude, we just exposed the Burlington School District for grooming elementary schoolers to become trans. Like the webinar that we watched today is not actually the worst thing that we've ever seen. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, it was maybe a 4. But the fact that they got so defensive, they were so pissed we were watching. They were so pissed. You could tell. Like the one on the bottom there, not the white one, the other one, because we have to do everything about race, right? Like she was pissed. And she would get on some tears, and I was like, "Ooh, honey, you gotta stop being so defensive. You're coming across as really, really angry. Like, I didn't disrupt your webinar. I let you say whatever you wanted to say. And you got defensive. And it wasn't becoming. It wasn't becoming. And it kind of makes me question, what were you doing with those 5th grade kids if they tried to question you? Because all I did was show your webinar on the internet. A webinar, by the way, that I paid for. And by the way, when I signed up for this webinar, when I signed up and paid for this webinar, I didn't have to agree to anything saying I wouldn't stream it on YouTube. How I kind of view this, I view my act as an act of civil disobedience, right? Like you guys want people to be activists. You guys embrace collective activism, right? Like that's all your thing. You're literally teaching 5 to 10-year-olds how to be activists in the books you just showed us in this webinar. What we're doing here on this stream with streaming your webinar, it's just activism. We're just taking collective action. That's all it is. How I kind of view my actions of ignoring their requests to not record their webinar, I view it as a nice, like good old civil disobedience, right? It's kind of like when Will Smith slapped the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars, and then apparently the Academy Awards politely asked Will Smith to leave, and Will Smith was like, nope, not leaving, sitting in my chair, and I'm winning my Oscar. I view this as the exact same thing. I didn't sign anything when I paid you for access to your webinar series that said that I would not record and stream your webinar on YouTube. I did not sign anything to that effect. You had no terms of conditions. This is your fault for not doing your due diligence. And you can politely ask me not to record all you want, and I can politely decline. And I can let you say whatever you want to say without being disruptive. I didn't do anything in your chat, mostly because I didn't want you to know who I was and kick me out. Also because it's not the point. Like, disrupting what they're doing is not actually the point. I just want people to actually see what they're doing. Goth Goblin says teachers should be teaching how to think, not what to think. Yeah, I think that that's exactly right. You notice they talked about censoring the language of children at the end. Emphasize, oh my God, Dems are going to get rid of Black History Month. I mean, like, I don't think anyone's arguing to get rid of Black History Month. What else? What other notes did we have on this webinar? I actually don't think this webinar was that bad, honestly. Like, you know, I kind of think that both of these women and probably many of the teachers in the chat, I think they're mostly useful idiots. I've talked about this a lot in that I think that most of the people who subscribe to this ideology, they don't actually understand what it is. They're doing it because they think that it's what they need to do in order to be good people. And so I was, oh, and I wanted to say too, listen, man, I'm sad that that her family is having problems. I mean, that makes me very sad. Guess what? My husband's from Ukraine. His country's currently at war. His brother's in the Ukrainian army. My husband's family's city is currently being bombed. You are not the only people with problems. Okay? So I do have actually great sympathy for the fact that she's having some family problems. However, I do think bringing it up at the beginning of this webinar in conjunction with us streaming it was incredibly emotionally manipulative. Maybe she doesn't realize she's being emotionally manipulative, but I think it was incredibly emotionally manipulative to do that. That was not cool, man. Like, that was, and especially when she went back and was like totally fine for the rest of the web, but she cried at the beginning after she talked about us streaming, and then her family has cancer, which again is very sad, and I wish them well and I hope they get better. And you know, I don't wish that on anyone. Again, my husband's family is currently at war. It sucks. We are waiting to get that phone call any single day that his brother is no longer with us because he's in the army actively fighting in the war right now. But you don't cry on a webinar to use it as emotional manipulation because you are upset that you got outplayed and I streamed your webinar on the internet. That is a manipulative, dude. It's not cool. Not cool. Not okay. All right. So apparently we're doing another one next week. I mean, I hope I get invited back. I hope that they don't actually figure out who I am and kick me out. And if they do, they should probably refund my money since they didn't actually fulfill the service that I paid for. So apparently we're doing that next week. Now I'm really looking forward to next week because apparently it's about teaching Like next week is basically our week. Okay, let's see what the description says. Elementary teaching amidst fear and panic. This is they should thank their lucky stars that we're streaming this on the internet. This is going to add a whole new dimension for them. This is going to make the fear and panic of what is going on in education so real because they know they're being watched. Teaching for equity and justice at the elementary level has always been complex, but it can be especially fraught right now in the face of organized, well-funded resistance. There are, however, many strategies that can help protect and even build support for this work. See, look at this is their Eventbrite page. There ain't nothing on this page that says I can't record this and stream it on YouTube. Ain't nothing on it that says I can't do what I'm doing. Ha ha, too bad, so sad. So we'll be streaming that next week live on this channel. Now, I am actually not a well-funded activist. Believe it or not, I am not. I'm not Chris Rufo, man. I don't work with Heritage Foundation. I don't have my own thing. And that's purposeful, by the way. I don't really want to be. I like being scrappy and like bad news bears, and I like having my unwoke army, and like we're all just like piecing this together. And the reason that I don't actually like having allegiance to anyone is I don't want anyone telling me what I can and cannot do and can and cannot say on the internet. That's deeply important to me. B, I don't want to be subservient to anyone else's political agenda. And if I went to work for one of these like nonprofits or activist groups that are springing up, and don't think I haven't had the opportunity, like I feel like I would be subservient to someone else's agenda, and I don't want that, particularly not with what's going on with the conservatives right now with the book banning. Because like I said, I really do not agree with the book banning in any way, shape, or form. I get it. I don't want porn taught in schools either. I don't want that genderqueer book in schools. I think that's bad. But I think you have to change the culture in order to do that, because when it comes to book banning, that's a slippery slope, man. And if you think that they're only going to ban the books that you don't like, no. They're going to come for the books that you like too. That's the way it always works. And so, yes, I think it is problematic that books like genderqueer are taught in schools, and I would rather that not happen. I would rather students see a comic about sex than make banning books part of our movement. And I know that's hard for some people to hear, but I have to break it to you. Your little darlings are going to learn about sex someday anyway. And that is far less dangerous. It's not ideal. It's far less dangerous than putting us on the slippery slope of censorship with book banning. Okay? So we just have to make our priorities, and I'm a free speech absolutist, and that's where I've come down on it. So there are many reasons that I'm not a well-funded activist. I'm sure they think I am with this YouTube channel. But the way that you can support the work I'm doing, because I am entirely funded by you. My work is entirely funded by ad dollars on this channel. It is entirely funded by merchandise sales and PayPal donations, but mostly it comes from my locals community. This is the probably the primary source. This is the primary source of my funding for the work that I'm doing. So if you really want to support the work, please head over to kb.locals.com/support. You can sign up for $5 a month. You can sign up for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can make a one-time gift, and all of that is greatly appreciated. We have a Bitchcraft coming up on Saturday at 3 p.m. You can come hang out on a private Zoom call, not streamed on the internet, and hang out and knit or do whatever you want to do. We have community Zooms on Mondays at 7 p.m. and Wednesdays at noon. If you want to get in on the Unwoke Army action, which is the group that Ben Shapiro just stole our journalism, but we'll forgive him because at least he spread the message, but he stole our journalism. We were the ones that did the work that Ben Shapiro covered. We were the ones that did the work that Laura Ingraham covered last night. Even PragerU stealing my work, not giving me credit. They'll ban me off their site and take my video down, but they'll steal my journalism and talk about it in a video. That's fine. But all this stuff from the Burlington, Vermont school system that's coming out, that's my Unwoke Army, and my Unwoke Army is grounded in my locals community. If you want access to it, there is a whole video that I just posted on this channel today explaining how you can become a member of the Unwoke Army, but you do need to be a local supporter, at least right now, in order to do it. And that's not, and by the way, guys, this is actually not like a money-making thing for me. In fact, I'll give you a promo code. I'll give you a promo code if you can't afford the $5. Put Unwoke into the monthly promo code. That's going to give you a free month. The reason that you need to become a local supporter in order to be in my Unwoke army is that I want to meet you and talk to you and make sure you're not a psycho. And the place I do that is in my community Zooms. And you can't get access to my community Zooms unless you're a local supporter. See how all that works? There's got to be a screening process, man. I'm deadly serious. There's going to be no bullshit. There's going to be no drama. There's going to be no bickering. There's going to be none of this infighting nonsense that goes on Twitter in my Unwoke army. I will not have it. And so I do screen people to make sure you're not psychotic. And then once I decide that you're like normal and aren't going to be a total douche in my Discord, that's when you get access to the Unwoke Army community Discord. And that's where the real work is being done right now. We are working hard right now to follow up on the story from Burlington. I've got whistleblowers reaching out to me right now. I've had 2 whistleblowers reach out for me today. I've got a couple media requests coming in. So people are starting to pick this up. But there's a lot more to be done on the Burlington stuff. So that's where we're going to be doing that, is in the Unwoke Army Discord. Now, another way you can support my work is by pre-ordering my book, Actively Unwoke. I just got the print version. I just got it today, 10 minutes before this stream. Look at this. It's so pretty. It's so good. Oh, it looks so good. I'm so excited about this book. You can pre-order the book now on Amazon. And you can order it other places too. But Amazon's usually the best place. You can get the hardcover audiobook or Kindle version right now. It is released on May 10th. So, pre-order away, guys. The more pre-orders, the better. If you're looking for an autographed copy, those will be coming soon. And yeah, if you don't want to give your money to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. I don't know, your local booksellers. It's all over the place. You can go to Simon & Schuster's website and find out all the other places that you can get it. Well, I do hope they invite us back for next time. I am actually serious about that. But tomorrow, on my second channel, actually, I'll put it in. I don't have it picked out yet what we're going to do. Now, guys, remember, last week for Happy Hour, we actually uncovered something that is currently making national news. So, on my second channel, Actively Unwoke, every Friday at 5 p.m., we do Happy Hour. Happy Hour is when we watch a woke training, and I have some beers, and we comment on it. Now, last week, you can actually see, we watched the Vermont school district last week. That Happy Hour was the thing that resulted in the Unwoke Army breaking the news about what is going on in the Burlington schools. It all happened at Happy Hour. You guys are never going to want to miss a Happy Hour again. I don't know what training we're watching yet. I'm going to go and find a good one tomorrow, but you can get in on the action. This is only on my second YouTube channel. It is not on the first one, which is, if you're on YouTube, you're watching on my primary channel right now. You have to go to youtube.com/activelyunwoke, 5 p.m. I'm going to go get some beers. We're going to have a grand old time. But you literally never know what's going to happen. Can you imagine if we made national news 2 weeks in a row? If our stories got into the news again? That'd be pretty great. That'd be pretty rad. But I'm going to be picking out a training. I will be letting you guys know what it is tomorrow. So make sure you follow me on Twitter. Locals is always the best place to follow me. Even if you don't join as a supporter, go to kb.locals.com. You can join for free. And that way you'll always get updates. It will never be censored. Of course, you can also subscribe. Make sure you mount that like button on your way out the door. I'm going to go relax and have a good rest of my night. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see you soon.